Welcome to the Betting Above the Rim podcast. Today's date, April 10th, episode 139. And let's get into our tip-off topics with major shakeup in Denver as Michael Malone, head basketball coach, along with their GM, Calvin Booth, were both let go a couple of days ago, according to Shams Charania. And this is really one, let's be honest, folks, that came out of nowhere. No one saw this coming in the change in the Denver Nuggets, especially with the fact that Denver being so close to the end of the regular season. And it makes you wonder, this is the second time a team in the Western Conference that is in a playoff race, not playing particularly well, has decided to make such a drastic change this late in the season. If you remember not too long ago, Taylor Jenkins was let go, obviously, by the Memphis Grizzlies. And it brings up a very interesting point in regards to the Denver Nuggets. If you really look at it, before they won last night, they had lost 4 games in a row. So why do it, right? Why do it now when you could do it so many other times? Well, if you really look at the Western Conference standings, and we'll kind of get to that in a little bit, Denver has 32 losses. They could easily find themselves as low as 8th when it comes down to at the end of the regular season. So they have to really think about the long-term thoughts of this team and the playoffs. But I think the other thing that you have to look at when you talk about a team like Denver is how is everybody playing? How's everybody responding? Well, simply put, there's been rumors going around about the coach killer, which is Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook that's been put into the starting lineup. I've read reports that Calvin Booth wanted to play some of the younger guys, particularly Jalen Pickett, and that Michael Malone was kind of giving Russell Westbrook the star treatment. Well, there's a problem, folks. If you're doing that and your best player is the best player in the world, and that's Nikola Jokic. Listen, nothing happened. Even when it happened with the Lakers and Darvin Ham, and you look at, when Adrian Griffin was fired last year by Milwaukee, things like this, folks, don't happen without the superstar being on board. So I don't want anyone to sit here and tell me that Nikola Jokic had no idea this was coming. He had to. He had to put his stamp of approval on it. Because I wonder if Nikola Jokic was secretly unhappy. This is a guy that's the best player in the world, and has put together some outstanding seasons, about to win, was going to win, has won 3 MVPs in the last 4 years, probably to come in second to SGA. So to me, this reeks of the Joker's not happy. But the team had fallen and lost, like I said, 4 games in a row before winning last night. But then you start looking at some of the guys like Jamal Murray's getting you 20 points a game. Michael Porter Jr. is getting you 18.3. Christian Brown's been 15.5. Aaron Gordon kind of does everything, 14.2. So to me, is it really the right time? As a coach, I just get worried about trying to change something so drastically this end of the season. Folks, it reeks of desperation. And there's desperate times in Denver. I will say this. Whenever he's ready, Michael Malone's going to go right to the top of everybody's board in regards to being the next head coach. How about a place like San Antonio? Well, we don't know about Pop's health, right? And what about this team if they fall south in the playoffs? And that's the Knicks. The Knicks got Jalen Brunson back after missing a while in regards to injuries. And he just came back in the last 2 games the Knicks have played. They won 112-98 versus Phoenix. And then they had that heartbreaking loss, 119-117 to Boston, when they were up by 3 points late in the game. And OG Anunoby does not foul Jason Tatum on a 3-point attempt that tied the game and sent it to overtime. So this is not about Brunson per se, okay? The reason why Brunson came back now, folks, simply put, he needed 4 games to qualify for All-NBA. So now Jalen Brunson, who has had an absolutely fantastic year and should definitely be, at worst, 3rd-team All-NBA. You're thinking about his ascension at 26.2 points per game, 7.9 assists, 2.9 rebounds, an assist-to-turnover ratio of nearly 3-1. And if you even think about his stats last year to this year, yeah, he's scoring about 2.5 points per game less. Well, that's because they got Karl Anthony Towns and they got Mikal Bridges. They didn't have that last year, right? But you look at the fact that he's shooting 48.9, 1 percentage point higher than last year. 3-point percentage down by 1, field goal percentage down by 1, but his assists are at an all-time high at 7.4. Folks, you're not going to believe what I'm about to say this as a Knicks fan. I think they're trying to tank for 4. I think they're trying to tank for 4. Hear me out. Think about this for a second. I always said New York's best path to the Eastern Conference Finals was through Cleveland, not through Boston. And if you bring up the Eastern Conference standings, what kind of leads me into my next point is 1 and 2 are set. We know that. 3 and 4 get really interesting because if I'm not mistaken, Indiana's schedule has, I think it has Cleveland twice. Well, for what reason does Cleveland want to play anybody? They have Cleveland twice, Orlando once. So there's a path right there for a couple more wins for Indiana. The Knicks tonight are resting starters. Hear what I just said? The Knicks are resting starters. They want 4. They won't say it. 4-5 against Milwaukee matches up much better than 3-6 versus Detroit. And if you want to go further, New York-Cleveland, better matchup than New York-Boston. I'm not saying they're tanking, but there's a little bit behind it. Really quick to that back half, right, with the play-in. Big win by Orlando last night, a 22-point win versus Boston. They should lock up the 7th spot. 8, 9, 10 get really interesting because of the fact that you just have to win 1 game in that 7-8 spot to get the 7th seed, and then 9, 10, you have to win 2. Really interesting times in the Eastern Conference. As crazy as it is in the East, let's head to the West. Oh my Lord, I could do a whole segment on this. Seeds 1, 2, basically 3 just about with LA wrapped up. Folks, Clippers with 32 losses, Denver 32, Golden State 32, 32, 33. Like, this is going to be an absolute madhouse for seeds 4 through 8. And I think styles make fights. If Denver is right, I don't want to play them in the playoffs. But I also don't want to play Golden State. I also don't want to play Minnesota. Memphis, Clippers, great year. We never know with Kawhi. But it sets up a really intriguing matchup coming down the stretch, right? Like I said, Denver, Clippers, Memphis, 32 losses. Golden State, Minnesota, 33 losses. So now you're talking about 4-5 matchup, 3-6 matchup, and then who's in 7-8, right? 9 and 10, Phoenix has been eliminated, so obviously 9-10 is either Sacramento or in Dallas. Those teams will probably play it out because you want to have home game in the 9-10 game. Styles make fights. I want people to understand that. This is not college basketball where you just have to be better for 40 minutes. You got to be better for 48 minutes in a 7-game series 4 out of 7 times. More times than not, the better team prevails. And in the Western Conference, there's going to be absolute madness. Coming up next, we'll get into our award tour. We'll look at the odds to make the Eastern Conference playoffs in regards to coming out of the play-in. And then we'll do the same thing in the Western Conference. So basically, are we looking at any teams specifically 9 and 10? Can they find their way in to the playoffs? We'll be back with our award tour after this commercial break. Welcome back to the Betting Above the Rim podcast, episode 139. It's time to get into our award tour where we look at the future markets of the NBA. And with it being so close to the end of the regular season, the intriguing market now becomes who makes the playoffs. If you really think about it, when you look at these odds on FanDuel, this is to make the final 8. This is not to make the play-in. So I want to make sure people understand that before we go in. Let's head to the Eastern Conference first, where the Orlando Magic come in as a minus 850 chance of making the playoffs, followed by Atlanta at minus 176, Chicago at plus 225, and then Miami Heat at plus 290. When you look at this, okay, this is simply put, if you look at it, this is by seed right now. At time of production, Orlando is in 7th, Atlanta's in 8th, Chicago's in 9th, Miami's in 10th. Now, if you look at let's keep Orlando out of the equation, right? This isn't worth something you're going to bet minus 850. There's no value. So now it's like Atlanta, Chicago, Miami. Well, you know me, I'm not going to give you minus 176. So now it comes down to Chicago, Miami. And which team do I believe in more to get in? Chicago has been the ultimate middling franchise for a long time, but they have won 7 out of their last 10 games. Now, Chicago's got 2 games left. Washington, Philadelphia, they should win both, which should keep them in that 9 seed. Miami is at plus 290. They have 44 losses. They just lost their last game, so they're 7 out of the last 10. And their last 2 games, Miami, are Washington and the Pelicans. So let's assume things stay where they are. And we look at Miami going to Chicago in the 9-10 game, with the winner playing the loser of Orlando and Atlanta. Folks, I'm buying Miami at plus 290. You look at me like, what? Like, you're taking a team with the worst odds? Okay, folks. So let's look at last season. Where did Miami end up? I do believe they've ended up 8th, if I'm not mistaken. Right? In the standings. You look at, the year before, 22-23. I think that they ended up in that same spot where they have been in the play-in. So I guess my point is they've had a track record of this, right? Like I said, the play-in tournament last year, they lose in the 7-8 game to Philadelphia. Then they blow out Chicago by 21, right? You look at 22-23. They get in the play-in tournament again. They lose 7-8, and they win 9-10. Versus who? Oh, that's right, Chicago. You want more? I got more. This is a team that's been the 8th seed 2 times in a row. And one of the times they knocked out the 1 seed in Milwaukee. Heat culture. Been there before. If you ask me who's the better team between Miami and Chicago, I'm telling you Miami. If you're telling me who I'm taking one game, Atlanta or Miami, I'm taking Miami. So if I think Miami's better than both teams, I'm going to take Miami at plus 290. Now, if you want to just play it this way and just say, hey, Miami money line, go right ahead. But let's be honest. If Miami plays Chicago in a 9-10 game, are the Heat favored or are they underdogs? I think in the book they're maybe even money or favored because it's Miami. Heat culture prevails. Again, and Eric Spoelstra tries to find a way to get them in. Miami Heat at plus 290 to make the Eastern Conference playoffs as obviously the 8th seed as they are seeded probably 10 going into it. West is really interesting because if you look at the West, if I'm not mistaken, there's an 8-game difference between the 8th seed and the 10th seed. 9th seed, I'm sorry. So the Memphis Grizzlies are minus 1050 to make the playoffs. Sacramento is plus 410. Dallas is plus 590. Simply put, you look at the remaining season schedule. Sacramento has to play the Clippers and the Suns. Suns have nothing to play for. Clippers do. You look at the Dallas. Dallas has Memphis, something to play for. And then obviously they have Toronto, who does not. So let's just say everything lines up the same. Who am I taking? Well, I'm not going to tell you minus 1050. Folks, I have been flabbergasted by Sacramento. I took this team to win their division before the season started. And they're 39-41. They're 4-6 in their last 10 games. They traded De'Aaron Fox. And they're dealing with injuries. Specifically, I do believe Malik Monk is out with an injury. But they got more to take left than Dallas does. Dallas, Nico Harrison, they need to put that brother on a milk box card. They can't even look for that guy in that city right now for what he did to that franchise, trading with Luka Doncic. Obviously Kyrie is hurt, with the ACL tear. They don't have a lot left. So, to me, I'm banking on Sacramento finding a way in at plus 410. Out of the drama in Memphis, the drama in Sacramento, and the drama / injuries in Dallas, Sacramento's actually the most stable of the three organizations. Give me Sacramento at plus 410 to come out of the Western Conference. Coming up next, we'll get into our scouting report. We'll preview Bucks Pistons, big game in regard to seeding. Magic Pacers, another big game with seeding. Cavs Knicks, do the Knicks even go for it? We'll be back with our scouting report, along with some Rockets Lakers after this commercial break. Welcome back to the Betting Above the Rim podcast, episode 139. It's time to get into our scouting report where we preview the top games in the NBA. And with the regular season coming down to a close, there is a bunch of really good games on Friday night, and each one of them has some kind of playoff implications. Let's begin in Motor City, where the Detroit Pistons will be on a second leg of a back-to-back as they host Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Milwaukee Bucks. And it sets up an interesting situation because both teams are on a second leg of a back-to-back, and it's really about jockeying for playoff position, if you will. If you look at the Eastern Conference standings, the Knicks right now are the number 3 seed in the East, followed by Indiana, and then you have Milwaukee, and then you have Detroit. Now, obviously, Milwaukee can't really move much, but Detroit can come up past them. So this becomes a sneaky big matchup here between these two teams. You got to like the way that Cade Cunningham has played in Detroit. This is a team that I think is going to be extremely dangerous come playoff time. And with Milwaukee, they have less to play for here. I don't think they're going to, I think they're kind of set in that spot. But it's a sneaky spot for both teams here. I'm going to go ahead and say I'm going to take Detroit here. It'll probably be a close spread on the money line. I just think they may be able to bounce back a little bit on a second leg of a back-to-back than a more older team and the, obviously, Bucks. Next matchup, Orlando versus Indiana. Now, when you look at this matchup, Indiana is that 4 seeders talk about, are the Knicks going to kind of, punt this one down to get, Indiana the 3 seed? And then obviously Orlando's kind of in that weird spot where, could they get to 8? Could they get to 8? Possibly they can get to 8. But to me, this is a really good matchup here for Indiana. I think an Indiana team that wouldn't mind getting a 3 seed. I think that they could play with Detroit and be willing to go for it. So for me, even though they've looked better as of late, obviously talking about Orlando coming off of that big win off against Boston. The key thing here is Indiana will be on a second leg of a back-to-back. So kind of watch this closely. So I want you to listen to me. If the Knicks lose to the Pistons and the Pacers take the Cavs, go take the Pacers. Because I think they're going to go for it. If the Pacers lose to the Cavs and or the Knicks win, stay away game. But right now I think they're going to kind of go for it. Instead of going on the flip side here, New York, Cleveland. It's all going to be predicated on who plays. We know Jalen Brunson is going to play because of the fact of him wanting to make all NBA. So I expect Jalen Brunson to be in the lineup for the New York Knicks in this game. I don't know what Cleveland has to play for. For me, I think this is a get-right spot for Jalen Brunson. I kind of look at Donovan Mitchell, and I look at someone like Darius Garland. Neither one of those two I find to be an extremely strong defender. And the fact that Brunson just getting back, they want to kind of get him going. But interesting to see how he plays tonight, Thursday night, versus Detroit. But he's going to play in the second leg of a back-to-back. So I'm going to look for Jalen Brunson to go over his points prop. Lastly, Houston, Lakers. Now, if you look at the Western Conference standings, the Lakers are going to be the 3 seed, most likely, unless there's a slip up here. Obviously, you're looking at the standings right now. Lakers with 31 losses, Houston with 28 losses. So we will see, this as a 2-3, kind of set in stone. But to me, I think it's a good game for Houston. Why? Because I think it's important for them to continue to win and kind of keep the culture that Ime Udoka has built. You wonder with the Lakers who plays in that matchup. I think they're going to play everyone. They're not on a second leg of a back-to-back. And I think it's a really important game for the Lakers. I think the Lakers want to make sure they keep their seeding. I could see this being a somewhat disrespectful spread for Houston and getting a lot of points. If you see Houston getting more than 5.5 points, I would take the points of the Houston Rockets, as I think maybe the Lakers win, but Houston finds a way to get the cover. This has been the Betting Above the Rim podcast for April 10th. For all things sports gambling, download the Sports Grid app. Pre-game, in-game, post-game, props, predictions, and more from the very best in the sports gambling industry. We'll be working on a really big special guest that we look to be recording on Monday as we preview the NBA playing games for our producer, Matty George. Vinny does a great job with the graphics. Thanks for listening, folks. Remember, it's smarter to be on Sports Grid. Good night.